Say the prayer. हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है, इसी में हमारा आत्म विकास समाया हुआ है. I commit that I shall always try to maintain a balanced state of mind. For it is in this state that my highest self-development is possible. त्वयि मे सर्वं आत्मनि मे त्वं स्मारे स्मारे ओम चित्तं शामय शामय ओम.
You are sleeping? 1 minute भैया, तू दूध पी.
हे ईश्वर, मेरा सर्वस्व आप में प्रतिष्ठित है. आप मेरी अंतरात्मा में नित्य स्थित हैं. हे ईश्वर, मैं सदैव आपका स्मरण करूं. हे ईश्वर, मेरे मन को शांत करो, शांत करो. Okay. So we move on to the third sutra of chapter 3, Vibhuti Path. And this third sutra is related to the eighth step of Ashtanga Yoga, that is Samadhi. So the sutra reads, Tadevarthamatra nirbhasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. Tadevarthamatra nirbhasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. If we break it, Tadeva arthamatra nirbhasam swarupa shunya eva samadhi. Translation is, ध्येयाकार निर्भास स्वरूप शून्य के समान ध्यान ही समाधि है. When the object of meditation only shines forth in the mind, as though devoid of the thought of even the self, that state is called samadhi, concentration. We have to remember that the text which we are referring, in that samadhi has been translated as concentration. If you recall, the very first sutra we did together, in that Vyas Bhashya, there was a sentence in Vyas Bhashya, Yoga Samadhi. Yoga is Samadhi. Yoga is concentration. When it was translated in English, yoga is concentration. So that is what it means. Now, here, this sutra is giving us a very, very scanty information, but at the same time, very vital information. What does it say? That now we have to understand that the object which was selected in dharana, it is continuing. And in dhyana, that object is now being held in the mind for a very, very long time without any break. So one of the example which was given in one of the books I had not mentioned in last two sutras, there's a commentary by Taimini. Taimini has given a beautiful example. And he says, if we consider the various objects of concentration representing the alphabets A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, then what is dharana? Dharana is holding on to only A instead of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As usually our mind is functioning in A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Instead of that, focusing all the energies of the mind to hold itself fixed on alphabet A. Then what happens in dharana? A A remains for a few seconds, then it may be B, it could be C, it could be Z, it could be Z, anything, any of the alphabet. And then we remember that now I'm doing dharana. So I have to bring my mind back to the object A. So we bring the mind back to the object A. Then for relatively little longer time, the alphabet A remains in the focus of the mind, in the pratyaya, in the vritti. So the vritti of A goes on. But again, there will be a break. Again, there will be B, C, D, or anything, or any other alphabet. So every time one is moving away from the alphabet A, one has to keep bringing his mind back to alphabet A. That is what is dharana. So when we select an object in dharana, mind keeps wavering, mind keeps running here and there. So every time we have to bring the mind back to the object we have decided to focus on. And gradually mind becomes so focused on that object, all other objects are remaining in background and they don't bother us. And continuously for a very long time, the A alphabets or the object we have selected, it remains in concentration, it remains in focus. Then that dharana has now converted itself into dhyana. So dhyana is a continuous flow of, if we take this example of alphabets, then it is a continuous perception of A for a very long time. That is what it would mean. Now in Samadhi, what is happening? In Samadhi, the same object is there. That is what we have to understand. And the same, if we take the example of alphabet, the same A alphabet will be there, or whatever object we have selected for dharana, the same object will be there. But now here, a total shift is taking place in the mind. In dharana, we were struggling to bring the mind back to the focus again and again, again and again. Last time I told you that God knows how many thousand times we must have fallen on the ground while learning the process of walking. When we were small, when we started walking, before standing up and before taking one or two steps, how many times we must have fallen? Only our parents must be knowing that. We have forgotten about it. But when we look at our own children, how they are learning, how they are struggling to stand up from the, all fours, it is a very, very big effort. And when that happens, when the first time an infant stands up and walks one or two steps, that is a very historical moment. That is a very important, very satisfying, and very, exhilarating moment for the parents. Why? Because a big step has been taken by the infant and he has started walking. So same way, when we are taking this step in the form of dharana, again and again we fall, again and again we go back. But if we persist, if we are steadfast, and if we are really having that abhyasa and vairagya attitude, then we can succeed. And then the object selected for dharana, it becomes very, very steady in our mind, and mind is going on perceiving the same object again and again. The similar kind of vrittis is arising, and mind is becoming totally concentrated in that object. So a big step has been taken from dharana to dhyana. This is what we saw in last two sessions. Now today we have to understand that there's another leap we are taking when we are moving from dhyana to samadhi. Dhyana to samadhi is a very, very major step, and it will take years together. Perhaps the best of the yoga students, best of the spiritual practitioners who are doing meditations, all sorts of meditations which are there in the world, those who are doing meditation, they will often find that they are stuck up at the dhyana level. It never translates into, or it never takes them to the next stage of samadhi. Exceptionally few people are capable of having that kind of graduation possible from moving to samadhi to from dhyana to samadhi. It's very, very, very difficult process. So it's a big leap actually. It's a big step. So now what is happening here is, as I was explaining, in dharana we are struggling. So we are aware that my mind is wavering. So we are aware that I have to bring the mind back. Now in dhyana also, mind becomes very focused. But in between, again, there is a breakage. So there also, there's one aspect which is present in the mind, that constantly we are maintaining this self-awareness that I'm concentrating, I have to bring my mind back. I have to bring my mind back to the object. This kind of self-awareness is there, even in dhyana. But now in Samadhi, how Patanjali is defining Samadhi, this is something very important. He says, Tadeva Arthamatra Nirbhasa. Tadeva. Now, Tadeva is referring to the earlier steps. It is also referring to the Dhyana. In Dhyana, Tadeva Arthamatra Nirbhasam. When only the Artha is the object. The Artha is the object selected for concentration. So now only that object as if remains in the mind. That is first qualification, to call it samadhi. That is the first qualification, that only the object remains in the mind, as if only the object is shining. There is nothing else. So this is one thing, that only the object is remaining. And the other qualifying condition which Patanjali gives us is Swarupa Shunyam Iva Samadhi. Swarupa Shunya. Now, what is this Swarupa Shunya? One forgets himself. One as if loses sight of the fact and the awareness that he is concentrating or he is putting any effort. Although Samadhi is a technique. And when we talk about technique, in technique, the exertion is there. The mind is also there. But now that's why the Patanjali has very wisely used the word Iva. Shunyam Iva. Shunyam Iva. So Swarupa Shunyam Iva. Three words are there: Swarupa, Shunya, and then Iva. Iva means as if the self is not there. Now, obviously, self is there, otherwise, who will be meditating? Who will go in Samadhi? Chitta is very much there, the self is very much there. But there is a total forgetfulness of this fact that I'm concentrating, I'm focusing, I'm in dhyana. All that awareness is gone, and as if the mind has become, as if uh, if we say that mind is a medium through which the concentration is being carried out. And the characteristics of mind is what? Mind is always in the form of self-awareness. When we talk about our mind, if I ask you, do you have a mind? Yes, I have a mind. How do you know that you have mind? I know it. I know it because I'm feeling it. I'm there. I'm there. So this self-awareness is a part of mind. So in Samadhi, as if the medium of mind which was trying to focus, now that has lost itself completely. And in words of Dr. Jaydev, the object is available to consciousness directly, as if. That doesn't mean the self has vanished or the self is not there. The self is there, because otherwise who's concentrating? So that is why these words are very, very significant. Swarupa Shunyamiva, as if the mind is not there, as if the self-consciousness is not there, as if the self-awareness is not there. So एक object के साथ में एक हो जाना, that is what is Samadhi. So it's a big leap now in terms of, if we try to understand in our scriptures, various examples are there. While talking to you, I'm suddenly reminded of the test Dronacharya had taken for all the Pandavas and Kauravas. So there was a bird on the tree, and he calls each of the Kauravas and asks them to take a aim with their bow and arrow on the bird. And then he asked them what you are aware of. So I'm aware of you standing, I'm aware of others standing, I'm aware of the tree and I'm aware of the bird sitting on the tree. So that is the answer most of the Kauravas and Pandavas gives. Even the four Pandavas, Yudhishthir, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, they are also giving the similar kind of reply. And before they shoot the arrow, they are stopped and they said, go back. And then finally, when Arjuna comes, then Arjuna is asked, what do you see? So he says that I see only the eye of the bird, nothing else. Now he is not aware of anything else when he's targeting, when he's taking the aim. He is not aware of anything else around him, not even his guru. But when Guru asked him, what do you see? He said, I see only the eye of the bird. And then Dronacharya says, shoot. And then he shoots the arrow. The arrow is able to really hit the eye of the bird. Now, this is just an example to understand what kind of concentration is there in Samadhi. As if now, in case of Arjuna, he is only seeing the eye. In case of a yogi in Samadhi, he is only seeing the object of concentration, nothing else. There's no other awareness left there. So that is the characteristics of Samadhi. Now, this we have to understand to be able to really appreciate what is Yoga Samadhi. Otherwise, we see that there are lots of misconceptions related to the concept of Samadhi. If we talk to, I remember when we were doing the sutra with Dr. Jaydev, he had given us few points to work on. And then one of the point he had given was, what does Samadhi mean to ordinary people? What is meant by Samadhi to ordinary people? When we talk about ordinary people, lots of misconceptions about Samadhi are there in people. One of the major misconception is that Samadhi is end of the life. तो वहां पे वो गए, जंगल में गए, गुफा में गए और उन्होंने वहां समाधि ले ली. समाधि ले ली मतलब that is the end of life. That is one of the common understanding people have about Samadhi. And even they don't really understand concentration, how difficult it is, what it entails, what kind of efforts are involved in order to be able to really attain the kind of concentration which Patanjali is talking about. So, these misconceptions will become clear from the, this definition. If we keep this definition, whenever I'm discussing sutras, uh, very early when we were discussing sutras, one point was made very clear that when we are not really doing any other yoga, but we are focusing on Patanjali's yoga. And when we are focusing on Patanjali's yoga, when we are performing or doing or we are following Patanjali's yoga, then certain things have to be kept in mind. And what are those things? Those things are, we had discussed it in Sutra 28 of chapter 2. Yoganga Anushthanag Ashuddhi Shaya Jnana Deeptira Viveka Khyate. Three things were there. So very early it was made clear to us that when we are saying that I am a practitioner of yoga, we have to always keep in mind at what level the Ashuddhi Shaya is taking place. Which impurities in my personality are being reduced or cleared? How I am getting purified, how my mind is getting purified. Now, this purification of mind is the essential condition for success in yoga. If our minds are impure, if our mind, now what is meant by impure? Impurity doesn't mean the toxicity at the physical level. At physical level, toxicity we understand. If there are toxins in the body, poisonous substances are there, bad hormones are there, bad chemicals are there in the body, we have eaten something wrong, the toxicity is there. That toxicity is easy to understand, but there is another toxicity at the mental level, at the emotional level, which is originating from the kleshas. So that is the primary toxicity which yoga talks about. And every yoga student has to always ask himself, I am practicing yoga, I am claiming that I'm a yoga student, I'm claiming that I am a follower of yoga, then in what manner I am really getting rid of my impurities? How I am becoming more and more pure? Now, this can again be translated in terms of sattva, rajas, tamas. tamasic and rajasic attitudes are being given away and sattvic attitudes are being incorporated. So we'll not go into those details, but this samadhi also has to be always kept in mind, this definition that very sometimes one misconception is there that people just at the whim and fancy of their mind they go in samadhi and they come out of samadhi. They claim that they went into samadhi, they came back. It is not all that easy. So when somebody claims that, you have to always take it with a pinch of salt, or at least let us be aware that what it entails, what it involves, how difficult it is. This we have to always keep in mind. So there is this leap between dharana to dhyana and from dhyana to samadhi. There again, when we are talking about samadhis, there are various types of samadhis which we have to look into. But before going into that, this point of going into samadhi and coming into samadhi, samadhi is transformative. The effect of samadhi is such that it can transform the individual completely. And that is why, to become little more clearer on this aspect, we will again go back to Sutra 1, Chapter 1, Vyas Bhashya. There Vyasa says that yoga means samadhi. And then in next sentence, he says, Saha सार्वभौम चित्तस्य धर्म. ये जो समाधि है, ये सभी चित्तों का धर्म है. जितने भी प्रकार के चित्त हैं, वो सभी में समाधि हो सकती है. समाधि उन सभी का धर्म है. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? क्षिप्त चित्त में भी समाधि हो सकती है, विक्षिप्त चित्त में भी समाधि हो सकती है, गूढ़ चित्त में भी समाधि हो सकती है, एकाग्र चित्त में भी समाधि हो सकती है. तो वो बोलता है कि जो पहले के तीन है, क्षिप्त, मूढ़ और विक्षिप्त की जो समाधि है, उसको योग की समाधि नहीं कहते, क्योंकि वो योग के लिए उपयोगी नहीं है. सो अंडरस्टैंड, concentration is possible even in mood state, and later on we'll find various examples have been given. One of the example was given that Jayadratha in Mahabharat war, Jayadratha had taken a vow that he will kill Arjuna before the sunset, and they say that Jayadratha had become totally ekagra, but that was a kind of samadhi which was attained under the influence of very strong negative emotions of taking revenge, anger. So sometimes in anger, sometimes in such kind of negative emotions, also a person can get very good concentration. But that concentration is not useful for the purpose of yoga. So this we have to again understand. Samadhi, only what kind of samadhi, that has been stated very clearly there. And all these points, I hope you remember, I hope you recall. We had discussed all these points in detail. If you recall our discussion on chapter 1, Sutra 1. So he says that samadhi which is attained in Shipta Mudha Vikshipta stage is not proper yoga. So what is yoga? What is yogic samadhi? Only Samprajnata samadhi is yogic samadhi. And how Samprajnata samadhi is attained? Samprajnata samadhi is attained in Ekagra Chitta. That samadhi which is attained in Ekagra Chitta, that samadhi is yogic samadhi, and that samadhi can qualify as Samprajnata samadhi. So imagine how difficult it is. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, is my mind in an Ekagra state? And then can I try this? So this idea we have to understand that when we move from dharana to dhyana, it is a movement from Mudha, Shipta, Vikshipta to Ekagra. And in dhyana, the mind is as if going into the Ekagrata. And in that Ekagra mind, when the samadhi is taking place, that samadhi is yogic samadhi. And there are certain characteristics of that. What are those characteristics? As I told you, person doesn't remain same after attaining this. There will be a total transformation in the personality of the individual. It is like a mystical experience. We often talk about mystics. So the other day, one of our teacher was talking about mystical experience of Ramakrishna Paramhans. So once in monsoon season, he was standing and he saw the swans or cranes flying in the sky. And he just looked at them and he went into a samadhi. They say that it was a transformative experience for Ramakrishna Paramhans. So all the major mystics, they go through certain experiences which really change their life completely. Today I was looking at some article and some video where they talked about the transformative experience of Raman Maharshi at the age of 16. He had the first spiritual experience which really transformed him at the age of 16. So this samadhi which we are discussing here just now, it has got that transformative effect on the personality. The person doesn't remain same. And that has been again stated. We have seen that in chapter 1. When we talk about Samprajnata Yoga, Samprajnata Yoga has got 4 major characteristics. Now, again, it will be worthwhile to keep these 4 guidelines, these 4 characteristics in mind. If we are claiming that we are yoga students, then we have to create this yardstick of these 4 standards, and we have to keep checking ourselves in the light of these 4 yardsticks and ask ourselves, where am I? Where I stand? So, what were the characteristics? Again, chapter 1, Sutra 1, Vyas Bhashya. So, Samprajnata Yoga gives 4 kinds of effect. And one is the kleshas will be reduced. So, when I talked about Ashuddhi Shaya, see the link. See the link. The moment some kind of Samprajnata has taken place, there will be immediate reduction into the power of kleshas over our mind. That means avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh, all 5 will be weakened. That will be the first effect of samadhi. That will be the first effect of samprajnata samadhi. So when we say that I am succeeding in yoga, it is not necessary that only samadhi will reduce it. See, we have to understand all the efforts which we are putting in the direction of yoga. हम अगर यम का पालन करते हैं थोड़ी बहुत मात्रा में, सत्य का पालन करते हैं, अहिंसा का पालन करते हैं, अपरिग्रह का पालन करते हैं, थोड़ा बहुत ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन करते हैं, थोड़ा बहुत अस्तेय का पालन करते हैं, तो भी हमारे क्लेश कम होते हैं, तो भी हमारे क्लेश जो है उनकी तीव्रता, उनकी स्ट्रेंथ कम होती है. तो दैट इज ऑल्सो वर्क ऑन योगा. बट इन समाधि इट इज अ वेरी वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग इफेक्ट ऑन द क्लेशस. ये आसन से भी हमारे क्लेश कम होते हैं. आसन करने से क्या होता है? We are generating very good mental states, very nice mental states, positive mental states, very aklista kind of vrittis we attain when we are successfully doing some asanas. We attain good concentration, we attain good relaxation. Now that mental state weakens the klista vrittis. Weakening of the klista vrittis itself means weakening of the kleshas. So this is the first yardstick. The second yardstick is the karma bandhana becomes weakened. The karmas become, now karma bandhana, our actions are also changing. At the same time, the effect of karmas, the bindings of the karmas, that is also weakened. Now one may ask, we hear about such kind of things, karma bandhan ka shay ho gaya. तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Often in scriptures we read कि एक कर्म बंधन का क्षय हो गया. तो इसका अर्थ क्या हुआ? कर्म बंधन का क्षय क्या हुआ? कर्म बंधन का क्षय कैसा होता है, इसको कैसे जानना है? अगर हम लोगों का हैबिचुअल बिहेवियर एक प्रकार का है, एक पैटर्न है, कोई हमको गाली देता है तो हम उसको डबल गाली देते हैं, कोई हमको एक मारता है तो हम उसको 2 मारने जाते हैं. दिस इज अवर हैबिचुअल पैटर्न. नाउ दिस इज कर्म बंधन. ये द बाइंडिंग्स ऑफ द पास्ट संस्कारास व्हिच मेक अस फोर्स टू एक्ट इन अ सर्टेन वे. They have got so much hold on our mind that automatically we go into a particular mode of behavior and we behave. That kind of binding of karma is so strong in everybody's mind that habitually we remain in certain mental states. Habitually we indulge in certain kind of behavior because we don't think, because we are not aware. We are totally at the mercy of the past sanskaras, past karmas. So these past karmas are holding their sway on our mind, and we go on acting in a certain manner which is guided by those past sanskaras. So if Samprajnata Samadhi has taken place, then what will happen? Maybe next time any such evocative, situation where we are getting kind of disturbed and we act in a predictable manner, maybe we will not do that. Maybe we will not get that angry. Maybe we will not act in the same manner as we have been doing all along. So when we notice that, we have to understand that yoga is working. Yoga has made some alteration in our personality. We have grown, we have evolved. We are not functioning. Last time Ajay had raised this question, how इतना दिन से कर रहा है अभी तक कुछ improvement नहीं आया है. So these are the criteria where we can judge whether the improvement has come on. कोई हमको बताने वाला नहीं है कि तुम योगी बन गए हो. कोई हमको बताने वाला नहीं कि तुम अभी तुमको आगे कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं. Rarely कोई गुरु बोलता है कि now you are really improving. Exceptional guru will tell, yeah, you are improving. Otherwise, our own experiences, our own propensities, our own kleshas, they are the guiding factor. So this is another very important criteria. If we are calling ourselves yoga students, then we have to keep this criteria. Are we habitually behaving in a certain manner, and there are patterns which are being repeated again and again, and we go on suffering again and again. Because कर्म क्या है? कर्म का बंधन यही है कि कर्मों का जो फल है वो हम भोगें. कर्मों का फल भोगने का अर्थ है कि हम सफर करें. लेकिन अगर उसमें कुछ थोड़ा भी बदलाव आता है, even once or twice, it happens that we are able to check ourselves from habitual behavior and we consciously decide to act in a different way, then the job is done. Then the success is there. Then some improvement has taken place. That is a very clear sign. So this we have to keep in mind, the second criteria. And the third criteria is that it is also paving the way for further improvement. So there's a kind of space created where we can grow further. Concentration becomes better. So there's a possibility which is created and the reality is revealed. What needs to be done. एक योग भाष्य में, व्यास भाष्य में एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सेंटेंस आता है, योगेन योगो ज्ञातव्यो, योगेन योगो ज्ञातव्यो, योगो योगात् प्रमुच्यते, समथिंग लाइक दैट, व्यास स्टेटमेंट. तो योग को योग के द्वारा जाना जाता है. दैट मीन्स वंस द गुड स्टेट ऑफ माइंड हैज बीन अटेन्ड, then what the further way is becoming open for us. Then we know what to do next. किसी से पूछने की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, हमको मालूम पड़ जाता है कि ये हमारे लिए अच्छा है, ये करना है. This becomes available to us. तो जो रियलिटी है, पुरुष प्रिंसिपल है, प्रकृति है, दोनों में अंतर है, उसका जो विवेक है वो भी हमको मालूम पड़ने लगता है. तो चौथा जो एस्पेक्ट है वो ये है कि पुरुष क्या है, प्योर कॉन्शियसनेस क्या है, उसके बारे में हमको थोड़ा और गहराई से जानकारी मिलती है. तो ये 4 क्राइटेरिया व्यास भाष्य में दिए हुए हैं जो हम लोगों ने पहले डिस्कस किए थे, लेकिन उसका सिग्निफिकेंस हमको अभी समझ में आएगा कि दिस इज द ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव इफेक्ट ऑफ संप्रज्ञात समाधि, एंड ओनली संप्रज्ञात समाधि इज योगिक समाधि. All other samadhis which are not creating these 4 effects cannot be considered as yoga samadhi. So from that point of view, 2 kinds of samadhis have been talked about in Patanjali's system. In other systems, you will find many kinds of dhyanas there, like Gautam Buddha's Buddhism, 8 kind of dhyanas have been talked about. And here when we are talking about this 4 kinds of Samprajnata Samadhi is there, and second is Asamprajnata Samadhi. So basically 2 Samadhis are there, Samprajnat, Asamprajnat. The very word Samprajnat it suggests that acquiring the highest form of knowledge about a particular object is what is Samprajnata. So normally we don't have a very good knowledge about things. We may call ourselves experts. We may think that we have become experts, but perhaps we don't have such knowledge that we can say that, I have got perfect knowledge about. So Samprajnata is perfect knowledge. So that Samadhi which gives us a very good knowledge, and that knowledge will result in what? It will result in prajna. Prajna means wisdom. At the highest level, the wisdom will be related to the ultimate realities. It will be related to the nature of the world, nature of our personality, nature of the Purusha, nature of the consciousness. But one may ask, what is the point of discussing all that, because we are not at that level. So we don't have to lose our heart. The same principle is to be applied in our day-to-day life also. So prajna is an ongoing process. We are developing wisdom. So are we becoming wiser? How we will know that we have become wiser? Suppose we have a habit of eating wrong food. So we continue indulging into wrong food. At very practical level, let us talk about, we get angry again and again. We fight with people again and again. We fight with our wives, wives fight with husbands, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, sons, daughters. Continuously the fight is going on and nobody is learning. So the wisdom is not coming. The experience is there, but the wisdom is not coming. Samprajnata principle would be the learn from the experience, and after learning you become wise. And what is the indication of becoming wise? We don't repeat the mistake. बार बार पानी पूरी खा के पेट खराब होता है, पेट दुखता है, सोचते हैं, कान पकड़ते हैं, अभी कल से पानी पूरी नहीं खाएंगे. एक हफ्ता जाता है, 10 दिन जाता है, 15 दिन जाता है, चलो आज थोड़ा खा लेते हैं, क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं होगा. So we are back to we are not learned, the wisdom has not come. Now Samprajnata Yoga gives prajna. Prajna is that wisdom which transforms the mind and thinking, and as a result, the behavior of the individual also gets completely changed. That is what Samprajnata does. And Samprajnata does it at the very, very major level. But as I told you, even the lower steps of yoga, Bahiranga Yoga also does that in small measures. If we are sincere, if we are really honest with ourselves, if we are really wanting, remember I'm emphasizing, if we are really wanting to change ourselves, then these techniques will work and they will improve our behavior in many areas. So wisdom at smaller measures will keep coming to us. And as we grow, we will understand how to deal with people, how to deal with situations, how to deal with challenges. All that is a part of growth. And that growth is in the wisdom. It is in the understanding. It is in the knowledge which we are acquiring. So somewhere the Ashuddhi Shaya is taking place. The Jnana is coming. Jnana Deepti ho rahi hai. And Viveka Khyati is being talked about at the ultimate. So ultimately, Samprajnata Samadhi, the highest Samprajnata Samadhi will give us Viveka Khyati. So Samprajnata Samadhi has got 4 categories, which we have discussed earlier in Sutra 17 of chapter 1. Vitarka Vichara Ananda Smita Rupa Anugamat Samprajnata. And the second Samadhi is Asamprajnata. In Samprajnata, we have to understand the nature of mind, our mind. Although Patanjali says Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha, total Chitta Vritti Nirodha is not possible at one go for any human being. So one has to go through the process of Samprajnata and then one can go into Asamprajnata. Asamprajnata is the Nirbija Samadhi. It is there the object is not there. In Samprajnata, objects are there. So this Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda and Asmita, these are the objects of Samadhi. So whenever concentration is carried out on any of these 4 categories, and these 4 categories will fall under, yeah, just as if we are recalling everything. Grahaya, Grahan, Grahita. All these 4 will fall under the category of Grahaya, Grahan. There is nothing else to be known. Whatever is possible to be known is falling into 3 categories: Grahaya, Grahan, Grahita. This also we have discussed in chapter 1 in great detail. So here we have to understand Samprajnat, Asamprajnat, Sabija, Nirbija. Having understood that, now we go to very important aspect of Samadhi, that when we talk about Indian scriptures and Indian thinking, and as far as you know the ultimate aim of life is concerned, there is no difference of opinion amongst any of the systems of philosophy or darshanas. There is no difference, because ultimately every system is interested in self realization. तो अगर हम भारतीय परंपरा की बात करेंगे, आत्म साक्षात्कार ये सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है और सबसे कॉमन फैक्टर। तो सभी लोग इसी की तरफ बढ़ने की कोशिश करें, चाहे वेदांत हो, चाहे न्याय हो, या हम मार्ग भी अलग अलग देखेंगे, तो उसमें भी यही है, कहीं ना कहीं आत्मा को जानने का जो प्रयास है, उसी दिशा में सभी प्रयत्न है। तो यहाँ पे हमको पतंजलि एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज बता रहे हैं, और व्यास भाष्य में two beautiful quotations from Upanishads have been given, that Atma Sakshatkar is not possible without Samadhi. So Samadhi is prime necessity for Atma Sakshat. This is very important. So, and it is not that only Patanjali's method will give Samadhi. We have seen that alternative Patanjali has given us in chapter 1 itself. तो जब ये वो सवाल आता है सूत्र 23 में आता है, is there any other way of attaining samadhi, or is there only one way given by Patanjali in the form of upaya pratyay? So the answer is given, Ishwar pranidhanadva. Samadhi can also be attained by Ishwar pranidhan. So bhakti marg is also there, but samadhi has to be attained. Without samadhi, God realization, self realization is not possible. That is the point. So the scriptures, they have said that ultimately one has, no matter what kind of method one is following, one has to come to a level when the mind has become one with the object. And so maybe for a bhakta, it could be the deity, it could be the God, it could be Ishvara, his Ishta Devata, it could be Saguna Brahma, it could be Saguna Ishvara. So the mind has to become one with that object, that kind of, now that itself is Samadhi. So this essential, condition is there, that without samadhi, spiritual upliftment in the form of self-realization is not possible. So that is another aspect which one has to keep in mind. Now, when we are talking about this self-realization and Atma Sakshatkar, one very important aspect is that samadhi is the highest attainable concentration by a human being. We find that people have different skills, and those skills are there because of the level of concentration they are able to apply towards whatever they are doing. So based on that, they have got different kind of skills. But when we talk about samadhi, there cannot be better concentration than samadhi. This is the highest form of concentration. चित्त के की स्थिरता का सबसे उच्चतम अवस्था जो है वो समाधि है. जो भी हम एफर्ट, Dr. Jaydev always used to talk about chitta sthirya. Make your mind steady. Work in such a way that your mind remains steady. अभी हम लोगों की एसेंशियल प्रेयर भी क्या है, रोज हम कौन सी प्रेयर बोलते हैं जब क्लास लेते हैं? हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है. व्हाट इज दिस संतुलन? इट इज द स्टडीनेस ऑफ द माइंड. तो ये जो स्टडीनेस ऑफ माइंड है, जो चित्त का स्थैर्य है, ये जो स्थिरता है मन की, मन का जो ठहराव है, मन की जो एकाग्रता है, समाधि से ज्यादा बड़ी एकाग्रता हम नहीं अटेन कर सकते. So here we have to understand, and this is applicable to entire human race. सभी भी जितने भी मानव हैं उनको सभी को ये applicable है. If they are interested in attaining concentration, then samadhi is the highest possible concentration, and it will be worked by all the systems. जैन लोग उसी की बात करते हैं, बुद्धा, all Buddha school, they are talking about that only. So even when we talk about Zen, they talk about Satori. What is Satori? It is nothing but samadhi. because that is also life transformative. If we look at the nature of Zen meditation, and or even look at the Buddha's meditation, Buddha's dhyana, every kind of dhyana creates certain transformation in our personality. Chitta develops from one stage to another stage. But the ultimate concentration, where the truth will be revealed, where the true nature of things will be known, it will be realized, that is possible only in Samadhi. So that is very important aspect of it, that we have to, and we, as the definition suggests, the mind and object, there's a fusion, as if the mind and object has become one. That is very important aspect. I remember Dr. Jaydev had always, used the example of one artist, and in his book also that has been captured. So in class, many times I heard him speaking about it. So he gives a story about chitta sthairya, or stability of the mind, and he gives a story of a king who wanted all the artists in this kingdom to draw a picture of a cock. मुर्गे का picture बनाने को बोलता है. So one of the very senior artists, he refuses. So this doctor had told us that this king calls him and he says that you have to draw the picture. So this old man, old artist, he says, give me some time. So he says, how much time? At least few years you give me. So for few years he withdraws into forest and he collects all forms of cocks and hens, and he lives among cocks and hens. And king is following what he's doing. So he will send his people and they will check what he's doing. So they will come and report. He's just every day he's living with cocks and hens, and he's just being there. He's not doing anything else. And after 3 years, he drew a picture of cock. And before that, the king's people went and visited, and they said, what did you see there? He said, he's dancing like cocks. He's behaving like cocks. He has become cock. So when one becomes cock, then what better picture can anybody else draw? So his picture was the best. Now this is just a story, but this conveys the idea. Similar kind of idea was there. Even in Chanda Mama stories, and yeah, the person, the Bholaram developing horns because his guru tells you contemplate on your buffalo. So he's contemplating on buffalo, so he grows horn, imaginary horns. So Guru, he is not coming many days to Guru. So Guru goes to his house and calls him, बोला राम बाहर आओ. बोलता गुरु जी कैसे बाहर आऊं? बोला क्या हुआ? मेरे सींग उगाए हैं, बाहर कैसे आऊंगा? So he has attained the form of buffalo. Now these are just stories to convey the idea. Now you see, we are just talking about these fantastic ideas. We may have some glimpse of good concentration, but we are far away from the kind of concentration which Patanjali is telling us about. The Vyasa is talking. It's very difficult. And as I told you, if we apply these 4 criteria of Samprajnata yoga and keep applying this Astanga yoga and keep, all, monitoring our behavior, monitoring our vrittis, monitoring our thought processes, then gradually a dent is made, and we may get a glimpse of good concentration. Those who are really attempting, those who are really trying hard, they must have experienced some moment of self-forgetfulness in their dhyana, in their concentration. There are moments when we totally forget about ourselves, what we are doing, who we are, where we are, what is happening. Everything is forgotten. And like one very common practice where sadhakas have reported. See, when I'm talking about this, I'm always referring to the sadhakas of the Yoga Institute and not any other place, because I have been exposed only to the Yoga Sutra ideas learned at Yoga Institute and some interactions which I had at the Yoga Institute. So some sadhakas at Yoga Institute have shared that when they are doing this, one of the technique of Laya. Laya is a very important technique which founder Yogendra ji had taught and then doctor taught. So Laya is one technique where one is very easily going into a state of concentration where little amount of self-forgetfulness easily occurs. This has been experienced by some people. So in small measures, even if small measures, this happens for few moments, then we have to be sure that we are moving in the right direction. So there is ample practical application of this principle of samadhi in our day-to-day life also. But we have to keep these are the highest aims which we can aspire to reach. We may not have reached, or we may be thinking that they are beyond our reach, probably. But then, unless the guidelines are there, unless one knows that I have to go to this place, no effort will be there in walking towards that direction. So these aims have to be always there in the mind, and one has to strive for certain experiences. Then only one can grow in yoga. This is a very important sutra. So as if we recalled and we recaptured the entire yoga past learning, all the concepts of uh, chitta bhumis and samprajnata and asamprajnata in brief, we covered everything. So from that perspective, we have to understand this sutra. If there are questions.
Yes, Jeevan. Ji, namaste, sir. Pranam.
Namaste.
Yes. Sir, I have a question. Thank you
Yeah.
for the class.
Yeah.
Sir, in the context of when I say I am meditating on the object, or when we take the object as the self, so I am meditating on the self, there are three aspects here. First is I am, and then there is the action, meditation, and then the third is the object, the self. So when you explain, because I want to understand this sentence better, I think it is from the Vyasa Bhashyam that is explained, and I think I have learned from you previously. So when you say self-awareness, no, sorry, you said Swarupa Shunya is to lose awareness.
Of self.
No, 1 minute. I have written here, as if the self is not there.
Yeah.
So the self is the object here. So when I say I am concentrating on the object, or I am concentrating on the self, that self is the ego, right?
No. When we were talking about this was related to different objects. And then, yeah, I got your doubt. See, it has been very beautifully explained in the commentary by Aranya.
Okay.
So, so when the Swarupa Shunyam can be of two kinds.
Mm-hmm.
One kind is when it is in the form of pramada. The fourth antaraya, Sutra 30 of chapter. So pramada is also self-forgetfulness. That is one aspect. The other aspect is Aranya himself, after explaining the concept of samadhi, he has himself given, raised the question, and he has explained he has given the answer. And what doubt or what question he himself has raised is what you are raising, that when the object is self, then how could there be self-forgetfulness? When if we are uh, if we are concentrating on the sun is the external object, so it is possible to forget the self. If we are concentrating on a lamp, candle light, it is possible because the object is outside, and we may lose sight of the self, and we may become one with the object. But when we talk about Samprajnata Samadhi, the fourth category is Asmita, where the object is self. Out of the Grahaya, Grahana, Grahita is the object. So when Grahita is the object, how does self-forgetfulness occur? Very beautifully, Aranya says that there also initially I am knowing myself, I am knowing myself, I am knowing myself, I am knowing myself. So what will be the vritti at that time? I am knowing myself. What will be the words? What will be the idea moving in the mind? I am knowing myself. I am knowing myself. I am knowing myself. And when this will continue, after a while, I will drop knowing myself, knowing myself, knowing myself. Only that will remain. So when that will happen, then it will be Swarupa Shunyamiva. Then it will be Swarupa Shunyamiva, even in case of Samadhi where the object is self, where the Asmita Matra is the object. So it has been clarified by Aranya. You can just go through the commentary of Aranya, and if it is still not clarified, if it is still not clear, later on
Yes.
maybe we can interact.
Yes, sir. I will go through it.
तो हिंदी में अभी बाकी लोगों के लिए बोल दिए, हिंदी में कैसे रहेगा? संप्रज्ञात समाधि के 4 भाग हैं: वितर्क, विचार, आनंद, अस्मिता. वितर्क और विचार में सूक्ष्म विषय और स्थूल विषय समाधि का लक्ष्य होता है, समाधि का ऑब्जेक्ट होता है. और ग्रहण में आनंद की मात्रा और जो सात्विक भाव है इंद्रियों में, वो हमारा लक्ष्य होता है, वो हमारा ऑब्जेक्ट होता है. और चौथा जो है अस्मिता मात्रा, उसमें अहम भाव, मैंपन, मैं हूं, मेरा अभिमान, वो जो है मैं अपने आप को जान रहा हूं, मैं अपने आप को जान रहा हूं, ये लक्ष्य होता है और ये ऑब्जेक्ट होता है. तो उसमें स्वामी हरियानंद अरण्य ने बहुत सुंदर ढंग से उन्होंने कहा है कि इस प्रकार के ध्यान में स्वरूप शून्य में कैसे संभव होगा, क्योंकि समाधि की डेफिनेशन तो बोल रहे हैं कि तदेवार्थ मात्र निर्वासम स्वरूप शून्य में वह समाधि. तो जब अहंकार के ऊपर, अपने खुद के ऊपर हम ध्यान कर रहे हैं, तो कैसे सेल्फ फॉरगेटफुलनेस होगा? उसमें तो हमको सेल्फ को याद रखना है. तो फिर वो आदत देते हैं कि जब हम शुरू करेंगे उसको, तो कैसे रहेगा? मैं जान रहा हूं, मैं जान रहा हूं, मैं जान रहा हूं, मैं जान रहा हूं. थोड़ी देर के बाद में वो मैं निकल जाएगा, जान रहा हूं, जान रहा हूं, जान रहा हूं, बस. That will be the mental state, and in that Swarupa Shunyamiva state is attained. This is a highly technical point. I don't know, Jinal, how you raised this point, but it's a very important and valid point you have raised.
No, sir, one more point. I just would like to put it in another way. Thank you, sir. But when we say I am meditating on the self, so as we go on meditating, what I understand by this sentence, maybe I've read certain commentaries or I've studied with you, I don't remember where exactly, but the act of meditation, the act drops, the action drops, even the self drops, and what remains is I am, only I am, the continuous existence, consciousness, pure consciousness.
Yeah. That is the highest form of buddhi. But in terms of when you use the word, see, this is the problem of English language. When we use the word I. Now, just a moment, it will become clear. What is this?
A pen.
How did you find out it is a pen? Who found out it is a pen? Now, when you knew that it is a pen, when you thought it is a pen, were you aware of the fact that you were concentrating on the pen?
Yes, I was aware.
But did you say that I am seeing this pain, it is a pain? Did you say that?
No.
No.
It was very direct.
The moment I showed this object, your mind just entered this object, and then when I asked you what is this, you went into a reflective thinking. You went into a reflective thinking and you said, what did I see? I saw a pain, and you said it is a pain. So I comes from reflective thinking. The fact that you are using the word I while going through the experience, we are not using the word I is there, but we are not using the word I. Only when we think back, when we reflect back, then say, I saw this, I went through this, I realized this, I ate this. So a little tricky issue is there, but I'm sure it's an important point. Go through the commentary very carefully. Answers are there. Whatever I'm saying,
yes, and this is
it in the commentary
3.3, right? 3.3.
3.3.
Okay. Thank you, sir. From that yellow book, right? The big yellow book.
Yeah, yellow book.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? No questions?
We leave it here.
Sir, next Thursday come.
Next Thursday, there will be no class. We'll be out of station. So we'll meet Thursday after that.